So it looked like Bria Hartley is going into hiding. It looked like Bria Hartley is running after news broke about Sophie Cunningham being out for the season.
So here's the chaos unfolding right now. Bria Hartley isn't just trending, she's practically vanishing online after the shocking moment that left Sophie Cunningham's entire season in ruins. And what makes this story explosive isn't only the injury itself, but the way Hartley reacted in real time, smirking as Sophie clutched her knee in pain. A sinister grin that fans are calling the coldest look in WNBA history, instantly sparking outrage, viral clips, and non-stop accusations of dirty play. And now, with Indiana confirming an MCL tear, the backlash is growing louder. As Hartley deletes accounts, Sophie's family calls out the league, and the entire conversation shifts from one scary fall to a bigger question: was this just basketball contact gone wrong, or the most reckless move yet from a player already known for chaos? Because whichever way you see it, this is the moment that has the whole sports world talking.
This picture is going viral with Bria Hartley with the sinister grin, right? This malevolent look that's on her face right now, clearly smiling after injuring Sophie Cunningham.
It all started with that collision, a play that looked messy from the start and ended in pure disaster for Indiana. Sophie Cunningham went down hard, clutching her knee, while Bria Hartley barreled in at an awkward angle, crashing into her planted leg. The arena froze in silence. Trainers rushed in, and fans instantly feared the worst. But what flipped the script wasn't only the injury, it was what the cameras caught seconds later. As Sophie lay on the floor in obvious pain, replays showed Hartley turning back with what many described as a grin, a look that ignited social media faster than the injury report itself. That single freeze frame became the centerpiece of outrage, replayed, screenshotted, zoomed in, and turned into a viral symbol of disrespect. Suddenly, fans weren't debating whether it was a clean play or an accident. They were dissecting Hartley's smirk and asking if this was proof of intent. The play itself looked chaotic, both teams trading baskets, the game fast and physical, but in one blink, it all changed. Hartley came flying in at a strange angle, her body colliding straight into Sophie's lower leg, and instantly Cunningham crumbled, grabbing her knee as the crowd gasped. For a moment, the entire arena seemed to hold its breath, but online, it was a different story. Clips spread like wildfire. Fans weren't talking about the contact. They were locked on Hartley's reaction. That smirk replayed in slow motion, frame by frame, as if it revealed the truth everyone suspected. And it wasn't just this one night fueling the outrage. Hartley already carried a reputation, past ejections, scuffles, and that infamous altercation with Angel Reese, where things nearly turned into a brawl. So when people saw that grin seconds after Sophie's injury, it wasn't treated like an isolated moment. It was added to a pattern, a running history of dirty plays that made fans believe this was more than just bad luck. And that's when the evidence really started stacking up. Screenshots popped up across X and Instagram showing Hartley not just smirking, but actually liking posts that mocked Sophie's injury. Fans called it proof she had no remorse, some even labeling her the dirtiest player in the league. One viral thread showed Hartley's handle right under a post about Sophie's torn MCL with the caption, "Death, taxes, and Bria Hartley, always at the scene of the crime." That phrase stuck, turning her into a meme overnight. People brought up old clips of her chokeslamming Angel Reese, old games where her temper flared, and suddenly, this wasn't just about Sophie Cunningham going down. It was about Hartley's entire reputation crashing down with her. What should have been brushed off as a tough basketball collision was now being framed as the smoking gun, a dirty play backed by a dirty history, and fans demanded the league take action before someone else got hurt. But here's where things exploded even more before the league or referees even addressed the situation. Sophie Cunningham's own family jumped straight into the fight. Her sister Lindsay went viral after posting a blistering message on X, blasting the officiating and accusing the league of failing to protect its players. She didn't hold back, saying refs should worry less about fining players for criticizing calls and more about hiring officials who can actually keep athletes safe. That hit hard because Sophie herself had already been fined earlier in the season for calling out officiating on her podcast. So now her sister's words exposed exactly what fans had been feeling, that the league's priorities were upside down, silencing players instead of protecting them. And just when you thought the fire couldn't get hotter, their mother Paula joined in too, calling Hartley a disgruntled player who was plain mean and out of control. Even though she later deleted the post, screenshots spread instantly, and coming directly from Sophie's family, the outrage carried way more weight. To fans, it wasn't just noise anymore, it was confirmation that the people closest to Sophie believed she was targeted. Indiana Fever fans woke up furious, not just because Sophie's season was over, but because of the way it all went down. They weren't only pointing at Hartley's grin, they were pointing at the referees, saying this was the 6th time Fever players had been hit hard with no real protection, while opponents laughed and walked away. The anger wasn't just about one dirty play, it was about a pattern of weak officiating that let moments like this spiral out of control. Across forums, streams, and podcasts, fans kept repeating the same thing. If the refs had stepped in earlier, Sophie might not be facing months of recovery. And it wasn't only Fever Nation pushing back, other WNBA players had been raising the same complaints all season long, saying the inconsistency from game to game made every collision riskier. So now, the conversation had shifted, no longer about whether Hartley meant it or not, but about whether the league itself was failing to protect its stars, turning what should have been a basketball debate into a league-wide credibility crisis. And once the spotlight turned to the league, the pressure shot straight to the top. Fans and analysts weren't just calling Hartley dirty, they were calling out Commissioner Kathy Engelbert and demanding real accountability. People wanted stronger rules, quicker whistles, and actual protection for players, instead of endless fines for speaking their minds. Media outlets jumped on the story, framing it as part of a bigger problem inside the WNBA, a leadership gap where players felt unprotected and referees looked lost. Meanwhile, Indiana still had to finish the game without Sophie and without Caitlin Clark, and on paper they were supposed to get blown out. But what happened next shocked everyone. Down by 21 at halftime, the Fever somehow flipped the script, fighting their way back with grit, heart, and a record-breaking comeback that turned a night of heartbreak into one of the most unforgettable wins in franchise history. Kelsey Mitchell became the heartbeat of that comeback, delivering a performance that felt more like a statement than a box score. She dropped 38 points, 34 of them in the second half, and every shot she hit pulled Indiana closer from what looked like an impossible hole. Fans in the arena went from stunned silence after Sophie's injury to roaring with every bucket, feeding Mitchell's fire as she carved up defenders possession after possession. But she wasn't doing it alone. Odyssey Sims stepped in as the steady floor general, slowing the game when needed, pushing the tempo when it mattered, and keeping the Fever locked in instead of unraveling. And down low, Aaliyah Boston held it all together with a monster double-double, protecting the paint, grabbing every rebound in sight, and making sure second-chance points were off the table. Piece by piece, play by play, the Fever refused to fold, and by the time the fourth quarter hit, that 21-point deficit had completely vanished. When the buzzer sounded on a 99-93 win, Indiana didn't just steal a game, they made history with the biggest comeback the franchise had ever seen. But while Indiana was celebrating the comeback of the year, Bria Hartley was disappearing from the spotlight. Within hours, fans noticed her social media accounts going private, some even deleted, fueling rumors that the league was investigating and that a suspension could be on the horizon. The timing only added to the suspicion Sophie Cunningham sidelined for the season, Hartley vanishing online, and fans convinced she was trying to hide from the backlash. Meanwhile, Sophie refused to stay silent. From the locker room, she sent a short but fiery message, "F around and find out." It wasn't aimed directly at Hartley, but it was enough to ignite the fan base again. A defiant reminder that even injured, Sophie wasn't backing down. Days later on her podcast, she complicated the narrative by defending Hartley, saying she didn't believe there was intent to injure, even calling her a friend. That balance, tough on critics but forgiving to her opponent, made Sophie look like the bigger person, while Hartley's silence and social media retreat only made her look more guilty. The contrast couldn't have been sharper, and it set the stage for the league to either step in or risk losing even more credibility. So here we are, the Indiana Fever proved their resilience with the biggest comeback in franchise history, but the night will forever be remembered for something else entirely. Sophie Cunningham's season is over with a torn MCL. Bria Hartley is being painted as the league's dirtiest player, and the WNBA itself is under fire for failing to protect its stars. Sophie's family demanded answers. Her sister and mother called out the league, and Sophie herself made it clear she won't be silenced even while defending Hartley as a friend. The bigger question now isn't just whether Hartley will face suspension, it's whether the league can survive the growing storm of criticism from players, fans, and families who are tired of being ignored. Indiana showed grit on the court, but off the court, the debate rages on. Was this just unfortunate contact or the latest example of unchecked dirty play? Either way, the conversation has already gone beyond one game. It's about the future of safety, accountability, and the credibility of the WNBA itself.